Hey everybody, welcome to TakeStock Live. It's great to have you here. Welcome to the show. We actually had a break last week because of Thanksgiving. I hope you had a good one. My name is Sam Evans, and this is TakeStock Live, brought to you and powered by stockability.com. Today's date, it is December 3rd. Oh my gosh, we're already in the last month of 2020, and what a year. What a year it has been. It's great to have you here on the show, guys. We are live on Facebook. It's just gone noon here on the East Coast. And feel free to join in. Feel free to chat. Feel free to comment. We're looking out for you as you're coming in live on here. So if you do post any of your questions, feel free to just post those questions on there right now. We will be looking at them in real time. And you may actually be right now looking at the recording of this on Facebook Live or on the Stockability YouTube channel as well, where you can see a backdating of all the recordings. We didn't have a show last week because it was Thanksgiving, but it is Thursday, it is that time, so we are back this week as well. And before we go, what's happened between now and then as well? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you on there, Dana. What has been happening? What's today's market looking like right now? Currently, looking at my screen, Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 170 points, NASDAQ up 63 points, QQQ up $1.40 on there, just breaking the $305 mark on there right now. Dow Industrial Average, like I say, is looking strong. NASDAQ as well being the real leader, but also S&P catching up nicely to 36.76 on here, and also the Russell picking up some incredible momentum as we are actually clear the 1850 mark on here. Are we going to see 2,000 points on the Russell? I don't know. It feels like the bull market that nobody can stop. The question is, what is driving the market? Obviously, lots of news on here as well that's coming out, and a mixed bunch, but it feels to me that the hopes of vaccinations of Pfizer and the ground that's been making there is the big factor in here as well. My relatives out in the UK have already been reached out now about getting the vaccine. My own mother as well. The vaccine is hitting European shores as well, and obviously hoping to have it over here in the US soon as well. A lot of people we're speaking to right now, hopeful for spring 2021, going into this Christmas, into this holiday period and New Year, hopeful that hopefully we can put a lot of this mess behind us. Is business going to pick up, or are we going to see longer lasting effects of what's basically happened since the initial COVID pandemic hit as well? What other news has there been? Of the stock futures, literally a little kind of, I'd say, tepid today after posting new highs on here. We've clearly broke 30,000 points on the Dow Jones. And no, that's not down to Donald Trump, even though he says it is. Sorry, Don. I wouldn't put it down to you solely, even though you're holding press conferences about it last week. But we now seem to be trading above it. I would say that that's bullish on here. And at the moment, this is a train that's wild, that's in one way. Do I feel like it should be where it is? You know me on the show. I've been saying ever since day one when we started broadcasting on here, I think this market's heavily overbought. But hey, there you go. Who am I to have an opinion on that? I've got somebody who's going to want to share their opinion on it and give you kind of a different perspective on it too, coming up after this. But the market is still pushing on higher, and it still seems like territory to be able to buy those pullbacks as we go. But not a lot. Just the market feeling a little nervous around those areas. And then weekly initial jobless claims lower than expected. So a little bit of good news to bolster the market there as well. And also Nancy Pelosi and Schumer have agreed to back a $900 billion stimulus plan as a starting point, as Congress and basically the powers on Capitol Hill are negotiating the terms for the next stimulus bill that's going to be rolled out in the new year, 2021. God, I can't believe it's going to be 2021 already as well. Unfortunately, though, record high COVID-19 deaths and hospitalizations still globally happening. This thing hasn't slowed down, and but the market seems to be rolling on unfazed by any of that as well. And the CDC introduced new guidelines today about actually shortening down the quarantine time to just 7 days now as well. But fears almost 500,000 corona deaths could be on the cards by February. It's a mixed one. It's kind of like half of us, we're feeling happy about the results and the things that we're seeing. There is good news out there. But on the flip side of it, some real horrible things as well. No matter if you're wherever you are looking at the show right now, I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you're happy. All I'm going to say to you is this, and I'm not a doctor, but just be sensible, just be smart. We've got a little bit longer to go, but I know people, I've spoken to people, I've had it from the inside in Pfizer, Moderna, Oxford, it's positive. It looks really good. Let's just be smart for this. Let's have a good indoor, safe family holiday, Christmas time and New Year, and let's celebrate in style next year when hopefully we can put all this mess behind us. Wow. All right. So markets again. I mean, a lot of trouble. I like to. We'll be taking a look as we do normally at the markets and seeing what they are. But I thought for this week, as we took a break last week, we were going to ease into the proceedings this way. And I arranged a guest for you, somebody who's been a friend of mine for a couple of years right now, who I'm really, really excited to bring on the show and talk about. And we're always about having guests. We've had a number of great guests on the show. As you know, my co-partners Daniel Bustamante and Ryan Watkins are busy working on student stuff and education. But I got somebody who really understands the student journey, somebody who really understands what it's like to not only be a student, but also understands as well what it's like to be on both sides of the market. Somebody who worked on Wall Street and who made the transition from being a Wall Street professional into becoming a student of the market themselves. And I thought, what a great thing to do this week than to actually, look at this and talk to somebody who's been on both sides of it, who's been on both the Wall Street side of it, who's actually been on the desktop side of it as well. And that was the title of today's show, From Wall Street to the Desktop as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to introduce to you a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who I've known for quite some time, Mr. Brian Dumaresq. How are you, Brian? Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you perfectly, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. Where you joining us from today, my friend?
I am from North New Jersey, and this is
Never
only
a guest.
temporary. Yeah, yeah. I'm only here for another 2 months, and then I'm going to be moving down to the Carolinas. So,
What's it like? You say you're moving to the Carolinas, and before we talk a little bit about your background and how we know each other and so on as well, which is great. Tell me what's it like? What's it like up in New York, New Jersey region right now? What's the state of business?
I got to be honest with you. The real estate market up here is out of control because everybody is fleeing the city in droves. So the real estate market in North New Jersey, everyone's leaving the city, and the people in North New Jersey are selling to those people, and the people in Jersey are now moving down south. So it's a perfect storm, really. Up here, though, it seems like there's an inch of real estate. They're building something on it, so it's getting more and more congested. And it costs you $30 to leave the state if you want to drive to Delaware. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
the tolls are going up, taxes going up. It's a tough place to live. It's a great place. I mean, I'm 49 years old. I've been here my whole entire life, and this is all I know. But I'm actually ready for another chapter in my life.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
can't wait.
absolutely.
Can't
And it's
wait.
not a small country. There's a lot out there as well. A lot
There
out there
is.
too.
There is big time.
So obviously, if you just tuned in, Brian Dumaresq, ladies and gentlemen, actually is the new student momentum coach at stockability.com. And we can talk a little bit about what that means. But right now, this is not what this is about. The show's about, market opinion, talking about experience and so on. The goal of Take Stock Live as a show is just to share market insight, talk about trading, talk about investing, how it impacts life, how it impacts all of us, and it truly is why I love being involved in it, Brian. It's the beating heart of the world, I think, the financial market. And no matter what way it is, whether it's going to be the old days of throwing pieces of paper around in the pits and yelling at each other, to the digital age that we're in right now, the reason why things go up and down is always going to remain the same, but there's always going to be a different way to interpret it and see it. Tell us a little bit about your background, because, for anyone who's just joining the show, you actually worked in Wall Street yourself. I hear Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, you leave an interesting track record behind you there, Brian. I hope you had nothing to do with that. Tell us a little bit about what you did.
So, it's funny because when I graduated college in 1994, I did a couple internships on Newberger and Berman's desk during my college years. And then I got hired by a company called DLJ right out of college. And I worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I was what's known as a phone clerk. So I was basically the liaison between our floor broker and also the trading desk upstairs. So the floor broker would go out to the specialist pit or the market maker and execute whatever symbol or whatever company I gave them. Buy GE, sell, ExxonMobil or whatever it may be. And my job was to keep everybody informed of what the instructions were, relaying information back to the desk. But I'm making it sound very plain vanilla, but when you have 30 of those situations going on at once, it's overwhelming.
I can imagine.
But it was the best education I ever got as a young guy.
Yeah.
And then I got recruited to go upstairs at DLJ, and I traded internationally for about a year. And then DLJ was bought out by Credit Suisse First Boston. And since I was so new to the desk, I chose to go to another firm. And my old boss at DLJ was now running the floor at Bear Stearns. So he hired me, and that's how I transitioned over there right in about 2000. And then within a couple of months of working there, they promoted me to being a floor broker. And at the time, I was the youngest of 22 floor brokers. I was like 29 years old or something like that. And within 2 years, I moved up to managing director.
Wow.
Like I had a real good idea of, what our institutional customers wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, working down on the floor, I wasn't dealing with 10 shares, 100 shares, 500 shares. It was, hey, Brian, go buy 1 million shares of UNH. Go sell 2 million shares of, US Steel. Like I was really moving some serious paper around. We all were.
Right.
And it was an experience of a lifetime. And then I rode it all the way to the end until Bear Stearns, went out of business. And that then and there, I had a couple opportunities to stay down there and do maybe some direct access work. But I said, you know what, the writing's on the wall. I'm like, I need to go out and recreate myself and do something else. And that's when I basically went home and starting trading by myself. And the funny part is when you work on the floor, you think you know everything. But then when you go home and you're sitting in your office, your basement, or wherever you are, and you have these monitors in front of you, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? I remember the first day I went out, I bought $3,000 worth of like computer screens. I'm like, oh, I'm going to trade today. I literally went to hit the keyboard. I'm like, I have no idea what to do right now. I don't know how to look at a chart. I don't even know what to trade. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Right.
So look, I did it for 6 months where I was, reading up on things and YouTubing and all this stuff or whatever. And I said, you know what? If I want to do this, I need to take a step back, get some type of education, talk to some people that know what they're looking at, understand how technical analysis works. And then from there on, I went to a school. I went to a trading. So I actually went to OTA. Um, I learned there. I took one class. I think at the time it was like a pro trader class or something like that. And then I met another guy who was trading from home, and me and him just started working together. And then I fell in love with it. And next thing you know, a friend of mine was at OTA. He called me up and said, "Hey, we're looking for a guy like you," because I had an unbelievable background of working on the floor, and also now I know how to read a chart, and now I could interpret what was actually happening down on the floor by reading these candlesticks. Okay,
Right. Right.
hey,
Right.
look at these levels here. Well, you know what's happening? I'll give you a quick example, and I'm sure everybody can relate to what I'm about to say. I remember one time I walked into Johnson and Johnson. I had 250,000 shares to buy, and I had a $60 top on. I think it was a $60 top, meaning I could not pay above. I had a limit order. I could not pay above $60. Stock was trading at $60.10. So the specialist goes, "Hey Brian, at 59.95, I got 150,000 shares in stop orders that are going to be elected." I'm like, okay. I go, let's drop it down a little bit. I'll buy the lion's share. You can buy what's left over, and we'll just see what happens. Sure enough, we drop it down to 59.75. I buy 150. He buys the imbalance of, I think it was like 25 or 50,000 shares. Next, it shot straight up to
Right.
$63. Now, how many times does that happen to everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you're going to buy it at $60, your stop's going to be at 59.95. Well, what happens? Well, you know what? The specialist saw those. Well, this doesn't apply anymore. Okay. Like now they're traffic cops down there. This was, I'm talking 10 plus years ago where they could really be thieves. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was very interesting. So when I came home and I started watching the candlesticks and learning about technical analysis and stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm like, I was the one creating these candlesticks.
You were seeing it, like you were looking at those charts and relating experiences that you
Yeah,
had on the floors
100%.
to what was going
100%.
on a candlestick on a price chart, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me take it a step further for you, if you don't mind. So if I got an order, buy 2 million shares of ExxonMobil or whatever it may be, the rule of thumb was buy half of your order, walk away, let it see if it drifts back in to the point where you would initially started to buy that stock.
Right.
Okay. If not, if it doesn't come all the way back in and it starts holding a little bit higher, whatever, now time is of the essence. So now you got to get back involved. That's why you'll see like a big rally up, start basing sideways, and then it'll shoot up again. That was the institutional side broker saying, hey, you know what? I know what I have to do. Okay, I'm going to try to do it. Now you're also having conversations with the sales trader who's talking to the actual customer. And the institutional customers are the pension funds, the mutual fund companies, and the hedge
Right.
funds. So all these big mutual fund companies. And if you look at their holdings, you can like look at a company like Vanguard. One of their biggest holdings is Bristol Myers. They don't own 1 million shares. They own almost 100 million shares.
Right.
So they're going to have a huge influence on the price of the stock. Now, if you know how to read a chart the correct way, you could see what they're doing and have the wind at your back instead of fighting it. And
Yeah.
now, if you start trading from home, or if you're the regular person who just wants to buy and hold and use a 5% stop order just to protect your risk. Well, you know what though? There's more to it than that. You got to understand where is the high quality entry point to get in with the correct risk in that appropriate place. Otherwise, you might as well just go to Atlantic City and throw your money on red 17 or something like that,
Right.
or play blackjack. So there's a lot more to it than people really think. But one of the things now, especially now when I start working with students, I could talk to them in such a level that they understand things at a much quicker pace. Because when I put it into perspective of what's actually happening in, if you want to call it a trading pit,
Mm.
what's actually happening there? I mean, now it's more algorithmic stuff, but it's set up the same exact way. They're using levels, whether it's a Fibonacci level or it's a supply and demand level or whatever it may be, they're set up a certain way. Now, one of the biggest things, and then I'll hand it back to you, Sam, is every time I had an order down there, okay, it was say buy two, I'll stick with ExxonMobil, buy 2 million shares of ExxonMobil. There was something called a VWAP, okay, volume weighted average price. And why was that important? Well, say I got the order at 10 o'clock in the morning and I finished at 2 o'clock. They were able to calculate what the average of the overall stock was that everybody was buying and selling between that 4-hour window. Now, if I bought those 2 million shares and I was able to beat the VWAP, we would get paid a better commission rate.
Right.
Okay. So say it was 5 cents, I would get paid 5 cents a share. Or if I did not beat it, it would be 2.5 cents a share. So if I was one of 20 brokers on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange executing orders on behalf of Bear Stearns for our institutions, and we beat the VWAP every day in our order flow, I mean, you think about it. Say we did 50 million shares a day times 2.5 cents in our pocket compared to 5 cents over 12 months at a year. That's a significant amount of money. So we had to understand what we were doing, when to get involved, when to back off. And that's why if you read a chart the right way, it's like, okay, where's the supply? All right, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to hold it right there because I'm waiting for the seller to come back at that possible level, and
Mm.
I'll buy more from them because I'm making them a bid. So if I saw 100, if I was buying something at say $60 and I bought 200,000 shares from a seller, okay, he might come back at 60.50, but I'm going to bid him $60 for more. I'm going to try to get a bigger
Right.
picture done. Then all of a
Right.
sudden, if we are low, if our analysis is low, okay, our location analysis, that is, they're going to start to try to offer it up. And now that's what's going to cause the price to go up because now the person who's buying at 60 sees extreme value and I only have 2 million shares, but that order might be 50 million. So that's why understanding how to read a chart, and when I work with students and I could break it down, say, look, this is what's happening at this price point right here. This is what the institution is thinking now. And now if it starts going up, this is what's going to happen. And it really sinks in with people when you could take that little extra experience that I have and break it down to them. And now it's a much easier concept to understand.
There's a lot going on, more
A
going
lot.
on. I mean,
A
people are just
lot.
like, oh, it's going up, buy it. It's going down, sell it. And that's exactly what you're explaining here. Two things out of what you've just said. You're making this easy for me, Brian. This is the easiest show I've ever done. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, take stock
Good.
presented by Brian. It's great. I mean, it's been a busy week. But no, in all seriousness, two things that I'm hearing from what you were just telling us, and I can relate back to when I was new to this and do it all. First thing, you worked on the institutional side of things. You saw it. Okay, so there's this perception that those big boys, they never lose. They always get it right. They have an advantage. Sure, they have advantages, but would it be fair to say that firstly, that doesn't mean they win all the time, right?
No,
And
not at all.
secondly, and secondly, what then hope does the investor at home or the trader at home have if these guys do have an advantage?
Well, one thing I want to say first is they definitely lose money. Okay. I mean, you can look up, I believe it was Herbalife, HLF is the symbol, a couple years ago when Pershing Square was short selling it and Carl Icahn was buying it. Two behemoths institutions in the world, and one thought it was a Ponzi scheme going to go lower, the other one thought there was value in it, and it got into a huge, it was really big on the
Tug of
news and
war.
stuff like that. Yeah, it was a huge war. I mean, you could look it up if you want. You could even look at the chart
Because
and things like
the
that.
reason I ask is the perception is, Brian, that everybody, all these, the Goldmans, the Lehmans, all of them, they're all in bed together, all making sure. But they're also businesses and they're competing against each other for business, right? And is that a
Well,
fair assumption to make?
of course,
Or am I
and
wrong? I mean, like, I
no,
worked in it. I've managed money. I did that years ago, but small funds, decent, amounts of money. But I'm not talking, billions. This is next level. You were with the biggest boys. But there's a perception they're all in bed together, all trying to squeeze the little guy out. But they're as cutthroat with each other, right? I would assume business is business, right?
well, here's the thing. So like you'll take like Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all these big institutional firms, okay? They're what's known as the sell side. So they have a team of analysts, they have economists, they have all these different things. They have analysts that specialize in certain sectors of the economy.
Right.
So it might cover retail, but then there's specialty, there's supermarkets, there's clothing, where they're going to have analysts for each particular group. So if there's an analyst out there who's got a very reputable name, people are going to listen to what he says. So if he makes like I worked with a guy at DLJ, and I actually became friends with a guy. It was kind of crazy how it happened. I'll save that story for another time. And I ran into him in the hallway one day. I'm like, Ed, I didn't know you worked here. And next thing you know, we started talking, and I started talking to some guys. I was a young guy. I was like 24 years old at the time. I didn't know too much. I was still learning my way. And he was basically he had a huge call on the supermarket chains. Okay, so anytime he spoke or upgraded or downgraded, he had a huge following. People would
Right.
call the desk all the time. What's Ed saying about this? What's Ed saying about that? And if he called something, that institution, say it was Vanguard or Fidelity or SAC Capital, whoever it might have been, they would call our sales desk and say, "Here, Ed's making a call right now. Take 5 million shares to buy, sell, whatever it may be." So that they were was known was the buy side, the actual people who were doing the trading. Okay, the sell side, the like Goldman Sachs of the world, being the sell side, they were selling the ideas to them and executing the orders, and that's how they were getting paid.
Right.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a misconception with people, but that's actually how the process works.
Right. Right.
So, but the analysts, were the ones who, and the economists, they would work together as a team. What's the overall economy doing? Maybe we're going to sell it to US, buy in China, or whatever it might have been, or
Oh,
what
man.
sector's hot. Sector rotation is a living, breathing thing. I've had it. I've had orders where start selling UNH because we got to buy ExxonMobil. Okay. Every time you sell it, let me know what you sold so I can see how much money I have. Now I can figure out how many shares of ExxonMobil I got to buy. That happened all the time. So sector rotation. I mean, right now, the only sector I see that's really kind of weak is like the XLU, but still not that weak.
Yeah.
Everything else still has like somewhat bearish, bullish patterns to them and stuff like that. Some of them are a little top heavy, like you were saying before, where it's a bull market everywhere, but it's starting to run out of steam.
It looks like a tired ball, doesn't it?
It
It's a ball,
does. It
but
does.
it's a ball, but I mean it's worked. It's coming to to be put to pasture. That's how I feel. But it's when it's put to pasture, when it's got that last good run in it. It's like this bull market reminds me. I live near Philly, right? It reminds me of Rocky Balboa. Don't write
Oh
him off.
yeah.
I think he's retired, then he comes back and puts you on your ass again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Rocky Balboa market. And
Yeah. Big time.
this is it. So the second part of my question as well, I'm aware of time and I know you're a busy man as well, but the second thing is then, you saw, you left that world, you decided you wanted to trade and invest from yourself. And then you realized that from a retail perspective, it was a very different environment for you. What then have you had to, or, did you have to do different skills? I mean, how was it different when you were at home doing it? And
Oh,
then what did you have to then relearn for yourself to then make it work?
you know, honestly, it was almost like I started a totally different career in a totally different job.
Well,
It was
that's
like I was,
encouraging. That's encourage to people,
oh, oh, big
because that
time.
means then they didn't need to have had your background
No, not at
to
all.
then come to this. I guess that's my question is like,
Not at all.
does somebody need to have your background and seen what you've seen to then consider being able to do this for themselves, Brian?
Zero. One thing that everybody must have, you must be coachable.
Right.
Okay. So I could have said I worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, pounding my chest and have a giant ego, but I could have lost all my money. Instead,
Well,
I
there's
said, you
plenty
know
of
what?
guys who worked in Wall Street who are literally bankrupt now.
Oh yeah,
So, I
definitely,
mean, there's
definitely.
this association that, oh well, I was a fund manager, I work for a bank, I did this, and they know what they're doing. Well, there's
Yeah.
plenty of people who didn't know what they're doing,
Hey,
right?
look, I do not have an ego, and if I need help, I'm going to raise my hand and say, hey, look, I'm not, I don't really know even where to begin. I don't know what stock to trade. I don't know how to manage my risk. I'm like, I'm doing stuff, but it's not working for me. So then education is very, very important. I did it. Look, I did it, but then I took it to the next level too. Like, I really am passionate about this stuff. Like, I really dive in, and because I want this to be my end all be all. I want to
Right.
be the guy that's, 40 something years old, trades from home, plays golf in the afternoon a couple times, is able to travel when I want, be my own boss, and that's my goals, and I'm on my way to getting there.
Yeah.
These are the things that I want to do. You have to figure out, what do you want out of life?
Yeah.
Okay? If you want to do this, jump in and do it. But don't do it as, I'm going to do it as a hobby. Don't do that.
Yeah. A lot of
Because
people I've seen over the years. I've been teaching people for over, nearly
I know you have
15 years
very
now.
long time.
I'm probably getting over 50, 60,000 people off the top of my head. And people come into it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I generally got students who come in with very modest goals. Like, if I could pull $100 a day out the market, if I could pull like a couple of grand, if I could pull $1,000 a day out the market, I'm sorry, $1,000 a month out the market,
Yeah.
I'd be happy. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I don't want to drive Uber. I
You're
don't want to
right.
be in retirement, stacking shelves in Walmart. I don't want to be working at the local B&Q in the UK. I don't want to be, doing all of those. And I get it. And I think that, this perception that, everyone's got to be a multi-millionaire. And it's one of the things, if I'm honest with you, mate, one of the things that irritates me more than anything is a lot of educators today. They talk about the dream life of the yachts and the fast cars, and they're sitting there on their laptops. And I look at it and I'm like, what a lot of, that's just a crock, right? Most people I meet, want to use the markets as a way to generate extra income, or maybe as simple as they just want to manage their 401k. They want to manage, in the US, their 401k better. In the UK, they want to manage their SIP better. They just want to do that. Not everybody wants to be a full-time trader, right? It's about doing it
Yeah.
the right way. And that's what I said to people, before anyone gets into this, have a proper sit down and chat about what your real goals are. Because I also can say, and I'd love your opinion on it, Brian. And anybody who comes to me over the years, so I had one guy came to one of my classes many years ago, and he said to me, as I used to go around teaching in a classroom, and I said, what's your goals? Why are you here? And he said, well, I'm here because I want to make $10,000 a day. And I was like, okay. I said, what are you going to do when you start making $10,000 a day? He goes, I'm going to buy a new car every month. I'm going to have like Lamborghinis. I said, okay, great. And what are you going to get from that? How satisfied are you going to be with that? He goes, I just want the Ferraris. I went, you're not going to succeed. I
You're
said, you
right.
might, but the probability is not. Why? I said, because there's nothing real, there's nothing tangible behind it. I said, you know what? Have goals. If the Ferraris come, the Lamborghinis come, that's it. But it's got to be, what I'm trying to point is it's got to be more than just the money, right? Quality of life. Like you mentioned, you're moving to North Carolina. Well, the great thing about that is I guess, you have no geographical restrictions. You want to trade, you can trade from Timbuktu. You can trade from North Carolina. You can trade from Brixton. You can trade from Copenhagen. You can trade from Dubai. It doesn't matter where the hell you are, right? And that's,
Yeah.
I think, what I like about it, which is it. But I think people have got to get their head in the right place. Brian, you're what we call a student momentum coach at Stockability. What's your job there? What are you doing? What's your goal there? Because obviously you're working with the students.
Yeah.
What's your vision to help them succeed? What are you trying to drill into them before not only they consider taking real education, but then when they get on that path?
You know, people learn in different ways. Some people are very quiet, and some people learn well in group settings. Some people are better on one-on-ones. Some people don't like to talk in front of a group for whatever reason. So I am there as another set of ears, eyes, hands, whatever it may be. So if they're going through our curriculum and they have a question about something, I encourage them, call me up. We'll get on a Zoom chat. We can go email. We can have a phone conversation, and we can walk through the process together.
Yeah.
So I want to just help people. Like, one of the things that you were talking before, like about this guy, $10,000 a day at the Ferrari. One of the things that really makes me satisfied is, yeah, money's great and all, but I actually enjoy helping people. I became a volunteer EMT a couple years ago because I enjoy being around people, helping people, especially in times of high crisis situations such as being an EMT, but also you look around and every time you open up the CNBC, whatever, like I saw it today, Triple M is laying off close to 3,000 jobs. Most people do not have a backup plan on what they want to do thereafter.
Right.
I'll ride it to the end and I'll see what's happening. But these layoffs are happening left and right. So now people come in, stressed out, and they're like, well, what do I do? I just want to be a person that's going to help them, comfort them, and do anything I possibly can to help them achieve their goals. Like that's really what I really want to do in my role here at Stockability. And you know what? So far, things are going really well. Like everything else, I'm learning. I've only been here for about a month or whatever, but I love the people I work with. You know, uh, we got a small team right now, but we are definitely growing. And I talk to everybody, and everyone gives their honest opinion to each other. There's a lot of transparency here, and we're looking to help out our students. We want to give them the best possible journey they can, learn, have every tool at their disposal, the instructors at disposal, and including myself.
Yeah.
So I'm here to basically help them in any way I possibly can. Okay. So
That's a very cool thing, man. I hope you
yeah.
are you considering carrying on with the EMT work when you go down to the Carolinas as well?
Yeah, right now I'm I got a lot going on in my life. So I'm gonna see if my license transfers,
Yeah.
and I will like I
But you
would
will
like
do it.
to. Yeah,
They say that they say that moving is one of the most stressful things anybody can do, and I would second
yeah,
that.
yeah, you went over a giant ocean to
I went
do
over
that.
a giant ocean, but I mean, it's not a small move. Any kind of state, any move, it can be stressful, but organization is key. It's a little bit like investing. If you got a plan, it makes it whole lot easier as well.
Yeah,
Brian, I'd love to take 5 minutes with you, look at some charts with you as well. You
yeah,
mentioned
yeah. Let's do it.
about Triple M as well today. 3,000 layoffs, you said it was.
Yeah,
For the viewers at home, you should be able to see my charts right now as they're on here too. And hopefully, Brian, you can see my charts too. I got some charts up of the Dow. Looking at that, it's interesting. I hear in the news today. Let's just take a look at today. In fact, let's just take a look at today. Let's zoom in on here a little bit. Take a little look at the charts of what we're seeing on here and on the Dow itself. It's been a little bit of a lackluster, period of time that we've got on here. But we hear about layoffs today. Triple M. You'd think negative impact on the broad markets, but again, broad markets open up strongly today again, testing the highs. Definitely a lot of pressure coming in at the $3,000 or $300 mark. I'm looking at the ETF right now of this. But let me ask you a question. Did you see a lot of this right now? I know this gets confused. You think about bad news like that, you'd expect the market to potentially roll over a little bit on that. How much does the market really have to do with the news that you hear and vice versa, my friend?
Honestly, a lot of this is probably baked in already.
Yep.
I think that with these layoffs, I don't think it'll affect the price that much because
No.
now these companies are going to be able to do more with less. Yeah, and what I mean by that is now they're going to have less overhead as far as salaries and health packages, 401ks, and whatever it may be, whatever. Now, you could also say, well, is Triple M's business, on a decline as well? I doubt that, but I don't know either. But one thing I do is, and I've learned over the years, the charts do not lie. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I mean if I have time here.
Yeah, go for it.
So when Donald Trump was elected president 4 years ago, the futures that night, if you guys remember,
Tanked.
were
900
tanked.
points. 900
Yeah.
points.
So I was with a couple of my friends. I'm like, Donald Trump won the presidency. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I'm like, look, the chart is telling me what happened. Okay. Sure enough, Donald Trump was president. Number two, last year, over the last 6 or 7 months ago, if you pay attention to solar stocks, okay, ENPH, SunPower, SPWR, they've all were going higher. Well, who is the one that's involved with alternative energy?
Right.
Biden.
Look at that. I got it up right now. Look at SPWR. I mean, look at that chart. Look at that monthly chart, everybody, right on here. I mean, look at that.
So yeah, big time. Okay.
We
the
call these too
market.
fast, too far, too fast. We call this though as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah, I
I
would
mean, if
expect
you
a
ain't on this
pullback.
train, you missed the train, right? I mean, as I
Yeah,
do not like, I got to say right now, that's happened, but I do not like where it is right now. I tell you
I
right
agree
now.
100%. I would look for a pullback, maybe around that $12 level. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I got to say around somewhere around here,
What?
to this
Yeah,
area.
I could not agree more, and my chart actually looks like that.
But then people will be jumping into this thing right now. They look at a chart like that and they want to start buying it, right, Brian? They want to start buying it at this particular point.
Yeah. So a lot of one other thing I want to talk about is uh, right now the electrical vehicle sector has been on fire. Neo, XPEV, LI, all those, right? And people have been trading them. And oh, I'm up, but they look at percentage points. Okay. They're like, oh, I'm up 10%. I'm up 5%. I'm down 13%. I'm like, why are you looking at percentages? Like, what is that telling you? What are these percentages telling you? How are they making you trade any better? You know what? They're not. That's what the amateurs do. One thing I've learned when people start counting their money, oh my God, I'm up so much money in Neo, I'm killing it, whatever. Time to sell.
Right.
Time to sell. Once the fear factor hits in, it's almost like you got to do the opposite of what your emotions are telling you. When you are like underwater, or I'm not going to say average dollar cost average or anything like that, but if you've been looking at a chart like Neo or XPEV, and you know how to look at a chart, they're at extreme levels right now. Okay, like they're starting to fade away. And I think that there was a some news coming out about how they're going to be regulated or something like that. And ever since then, they've been selling off. But now they're starting to come into a high quality areas of where maybe you could buy them. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine literally last night about I think it was XPEV, and it hit $70. And I said, look, if it pulls back down to like that 40, like that 40, 45 range, it might be an opportunity. Sure enough, it pinged 45 yesterday and shot right up.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about location,
Too
you
far,
know?
too fast.
Absolutely right.
You
Now,
see
where
it
did,
all the time. You see that the Robin Hooders, the excited buyers, they drive a market up, and one's holding, literally holding holding the hot potato right down, and then bang, collapses right down, and then gives the big boys another opportunity to get back into the market for a push back to the upside. All about timing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I always tell people, especially amateur traders, I'm like, look, I'm like, don't confuse having brains for a bull market.
Right.
Okay,
I was
everybody makes,
drilled into me. That was
you know,
drilled into me, Brian.
you know, people.
While we're on the
Yeah,
subject, all right, I always do with the guests on the show, a little feature towards the end called "Your Call, My Put." Something someone's bullish on, something's bearish on. If you're new to the show, never heard of these terminology, by the way. Bullish means I believe the market's going to go up. Bearish believes the market's going to go down. In the world of trading and investing, there's these options. Calls you buy if you think it's going up. Puts if you think it's going down. Your call, my put. What do you think? You got something you're bullish or bearish on? I'm a gentleman. I always give my guests the first choice, and then
all
I
right.
kind of catch myself. I have to find something on the fly. What are you thinking, Brian?
Believe it or not, the ETF, the XLE, I'm,
XLE,
yeah. I'm actually kind of
the
bullish
energy
on.
ETF. What are you thinking at?
I'm,
Bullish,
uh,
bearish?
I'm bullish on it, but if you go to a weekly chart, um, and look at it, oh, there it is. Oh, the upper right. Sorry, I didn't see that. So if you look at that, it made a higher low on the bottom. If it can get above that $45 area, I think we could run up to that $60 level. There you go. I think one of the things that I like to do is to find my location or my target price is I'll use some type of fib extension or
Mm-hmm.
some type of move that way, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll bring you up to the $55 range, which is also a tremendous supply zone. So I kind of like that. And not, I mean, let's see what happens at this level. It just took out that little area of supply to the left right there, where current price is probably in the $35, $36 range. So if I could see that hold there and start basing sideways or moving sideways here, I think we're gonna get another leg up, and I think we're gonna go north of $50.
I do think we're seeing a little bit of what we put in a new high here. We put in
Yep.
a high and a low. We're starting to see a shift, a little bit of transition and change in the sentiment. On another side
Yeah.
of that, look at
Yes.
it. I mean, I'm not being funny, look at it. I mean, this thing down monthly charts, look how low we are. I mean, we are bargain
Yeah.
basement right now. Definitely an underperforming sector overall in the market. But then, if we can get some continued strength in the broad market, that's going to give it a push. I mean, I'm going to go big. I'm going to look at this monthly chart right now. You call it supply. I call it resistance zones. Okay. Here we are, 6 hours. I see nothing but just open space and vacuum to push this thing up. I got to
Yeah.
agree. And I'll be on this show. I'll call it and say if I don't agree, but I like it. I think it's a nice play. Be looking at more of a long-term play, Brian. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. It's not gonna it's not gonna happen overnight.
Not
It's
going to
not.
happen overnight, but
But
a great way to think about that. And incredible how many people, investors, and they don't have an idea of targets. They see a market do really well. They've been on into a portfolio for a time, and they just don't understand how to take a profit. That's a key thing as well. I always say profits don't take themselves, right, Brian? They never
yeah,
take
yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, another thing that I do sometimes too for maybe like a longer term portfolio or something like that is I'll maybe not the XLE, but I'll go and look at the XLE's holdings, and
Okay.
maybe I'll go through individual stocks and look at it from that way as well. Who's the strong one? Who's the weak one?
Yeah.
Do I see a pattern I recognize? Things of that nature.
Yeah.
So it's a place to start really, because a lot of people don't even know
Absolutely.
where to start.
Exactly.
So I mean, every morning I look at the 8 major sectors, the XLB, the XLIV,
Right.
and so on and so forth. And I want to see who's weak, who's strong, who's getting a little top heavy, that type of thing. Um, so a lot of them, though, I mean, I was looking earlier, a couple of them are starting to get to that point where they're going to be making all-time highs, but they're kind of running out of gas a little bit.
Right.
I'm not saying I want to short them. I'm just saying I'm going to find a level where I want to buy them if they can pull in a little bit.
Mm,
So,
mm.
I'm always looking and scanning and trying to give myself an edge. That's really
Nice.
what I'm trying to do. And,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. I like it. Very helpful stuff. All right. So I guess that leaves me to look for something like on the bearish side of things. I mean, it's a tough one. When it comes to the equity market, there ain't a lot I'm bearish on. I mean, I'm still
yeah,
not. I've had people blue in the face. I don't know about you've experienced this, but man, ever since like everybody out there, every expert, they all want to be, especially in the education world. Everybody wants to call the top. Everyone wants to say, oh, the market's going down. And for the last 10 years, they've been telling me the market's going down. And all it's done is just go higher and higher and higher and higher. So on stocks, I do still remain pretty bullish on this market as well. From a bearish perspective on here, I mean, it's been, there's not a whole lot that I've been seeing. I mean, I guess really, if anything, I would like to bring up crude oil. Have my eye on crude oil for a little bit of time right now. I gotta say, now is not, well, we're getting there. $50 crude oil, I think, is a big benchmark on crude right now, and I know we've got the energy sector that we're looking at overall, but I'm talking about just crude specifically right now. I think that, there's a lot going on, with the economy and so on as well. Don't get me wrong. But and again, I'm going to go short term on this though. I mean, let me make this very clear. Back when crude oil, let's go look at the charts right now. Back when crude oil started this year was practically at zero. I was just like, and people are like, well, crude's going to go negative. I'm like, seriously? You want to spend $5 on a bag of family size potato chips or $5 on a barrel of oil? What do you think is going to be worth more by the end of the year? I mean, it was a no brainer to me, get long on oil when it was at that kind of price. Again, though, I like to say, I think we've established a new little level here. I think this $35 mark is a key area back on oil. We're trying to push higher. I see a lot of wide open space. I'm going to go out there and say, at this particular point, $60 is for me for a target, but I can see it's been a little bit of a holding pattern. And I see right now challenges coming a little bit higher. We are not going to get to that market overnight. Right now, $50, I think, is a major area there. I wouldn't be surprised, Brian, to see a push to the $50 and then a retest. And I see a new range with about $35 as the new benchmark on crude oil. So right now, I see a little bit more upside on it, but I got to say, I see a lot of selling pressure coming in at $50. I cannot see this thing literally breezing right through that point as well. And I'd be interested in looking to take some profits around the $50 and drive that thing back down to 35. Thoughts, comments?
I actually agree with you 100% there.
I've cheated a little bit though. I've cheated a bit because I'm not bearish on it right now, but I'm getting to that realm where we're only $4 and change off those $50 marks. And it's a big psychological area, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, those areas always are, because people always gravitate towards the 50s, the 45s, the 40s.
Yeah.
I call them the figure, but most people know them as the whole number.
Yep.
Those are just psychological
Big
numbers as
areas,
well.
big
I
numbers,
agree. Yeah,
big
50,
prices.
50s, 50 is a big one too. And even if you look to the left over there, that was prior support before that. So
The
now
area.
when it flips like that, that's a real solid area that you may want to, like you said, you could probably take a low risk short up there with a move down to where you're saying about $35 in that area.
Still in a downward
Yeah.
trend at this point,
Yep.
But again, we're in a transitional phase where we're trying to push our way higher, but nothing moves in a straight line. You know that better than anybody. I know
Oh
that
yeah.
as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Sometimes markets need a healthy pullback to be able to. They need that little kind of a dip to go on sale to give it the next push to the upside. At the moment,
Yeah.
a little bit of an energy focus there. Absolutely.
So one other thing, even getting back to people that have never been educated or they just want to start trading or whatever, they just see something going up and also like, let me buy it. But they might be
Right.
buying right smack in a resistance area where now, oh, I have a 5% stop loss on it. You know what? You
Yeah.
just burned money. You know, if you know how to look at a chart the right way, you could find the high quality areas and wait for it.
It is
FOMO.
about waiting.
It is. It's all about patience,
People
finding
always
your
want to
zones.
everyone just wants to jump in because they're fear of missing out, right? It's always
Yeah.
the way,
And
this
a
big
lot of
fear of
people,
missing out.
we could talk probably for another hour on just buy and hold. Look, I'm not opposed to it, but if you know why you're in it and for what reason, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if you're in it because that's the only method or only system or strategy then you got to start talking to some people and wrap your head around why you're in it and how to manage that or even make money off that.
Yeah.
You could create different streams of
Income streams
income.
off of a position
Yes,
that you've been holding for a long, long time.
exactly. That.
We should
Thank
talk
you.
about
Thank
that
you.
next time we get you on the show,
Yeah,
Brian.
I'd love to. I'd
Absolutely.
love to.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Listen, Ryan, I know you're a busy man. I want to thank you, for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on Take Stock Live as well. I wish you every success with your new, role and everything that you're doing. I hear good work and good things you're doing over there. So been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time as well. Let's get you back on here in a couple of weeks, okay?
That sounds fantastic. Thanks, buddy. Have a good day,
All right. You
everybody.
enjoy. Thank you. Thanks for coming on, guy. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
I'll
you
see you
very
later.
much. Thank you, Brian. Everyone, that was Brian Dumaresq on there of Stockability, their student momentum coach on there. Guy's been in this a long, long time, seen it from different perspectives. So it'd be really cool on the show to just give you a different view of the market from somebody who's seen the Wall Street side of things, okay, and actually has now kind of like moved over and done it, for himself, and he's doing it with other students as well from the comfort of their own home. Very, very cool. Just while we're on the show, I'd love to give a shout out to our viewers, Dana, Ross Ford, my man, Lord Ford on there. It's great news as well. Deliveries on the COVID vaccine have started today in the UK. I'm feeling really good about that. Stay safe out there. Good friend of mine, dear friend of mine. You please look after yourself. Look forward to chatting with you soon. Make sure as well you're not putting yourself at any risk too. And anyone else who's looking at the show right now, be it live or the recording here on Facebook Live or on our YouTube channel, I wish you safe. I wish you prosperity. Let's just kind of knuckle down and hunker down as well. If you are interested in finding out a little bit more about what we talked about as well, head over to stockability.com. We've got a whole ton of resources there where you can talk to maybe Brian. You can actually take quizzes on where kind of you're at in your investing and trading career, whether you're new, whether you're a market veteran, whole lot of cool things going on there as well. You can also subscribe to the Take Stock newsletter, which is circulated straight to your inbox every Tuesday, and some of the seasonal webinars that we're going to be doing on all different aspects of the market, from options, forex, futures, seasonality, commodity. There's a whole load of different things that we can be doing on here as well. In the meantime, can I wish you a very stay warm, whether you're here or if you're on the East Coast. Enjoy the warmth if you're anywhere else as well. Let's have some patience. Maybe a bit more news this time next week as well. We're coming into the quiet months, but it wouldn't surprise me to see another big Santa Claus rally in here. Next week on the show, I'll be joined by another guest for more market analysis. If you have got questions in the meantime, things you'd like us to look at, best place to do or reach us is support@stockability.com. Also, you can type your comments and questions here on the Facebook Live Stockability page or on the YouTube channel as well. Guys, I'm Sam Evans. This has been Take Stock Live. Stick around and I'll leave all the details of how you can stay in touch with us. I wish you a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you next week for another edition of Take Stock Live as well. Thanks very much, guys. Be well. Take care.